you have problems with the connection. So great for all joining in the afternoon. I know it's super late already, and we try to make it as kind of exciting as possible. We actually prepared a lot of different styles, because 90 minutes just me talking is probably super boring. So we first will talk about a little bit kind of how the whole retail media topic is built up, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, but also where the problems are with that. And then we will dive directly into the case, because on a practical example, it's always the best to learn. And afterwards, we go in a panel discussion where also BSH is joining us. So feel free to ask then also your questions. And we will have then kind of 3 different types. And hopefully it won't be then that boring even late in the evening. So first of all, who will be on stage? Pauline will join us from BSH. Karen and Katrin will join us from Medela for the case together with Kevin. And Nesma will start at the beginning. So first of all, maybe you are wondering why I'm here, normally the face of Factor DEPT, now as DEPT, because it's actually we rebranded. So just as a side note, and I don't want to talk too much about why we did that and why we are what we're now doing, but kind of as a small introduction, we joined DEPT 5 years ago and are actually okay. Okay, you should keep the dongle in your hand so you can hear me. So we actually joined DEPT 5 years ago and are now a full agency which is doing digital marketing and tech. And with it, based on the marketing part, we are really going from the whole strategy, so your TikTok influencer campaign, down to really the strategy part on the retail media part. And the most important, we also do the tech part of that as well. So the BI solutions and everything, you need to measure it. And also the creative part, so which is super important as well to get noticed. Most important for today, we cover 70 marketplaces right now. So any question in any direction, we probably can help you, and we do that globally. And I thought it's kind of boring to just go to a kind of agency presentation. So I thought like the biggest question we had at the beginning is, what is retail media? And I want to start that a little bit kind of with a kind of get your attention as well, is kind of by getting up your hands, and then we'll slide through the list of topics which you think is still retail media or not. So first, I want to see your hands. Retail media. I think everybody agrees that a campaign on Amazon is retail media, but it gets even trickier. So is optimizing your products on a marketplace still retail media? Some would argue that it's earned media, but it's still then, is it still retail media? I would say yes. It's a campaign where you're just using data from a marketplace, but send them back to your web shop. Is it still retail media? You're using the data, but you're actually sending them to your own web shop. Tricky one. Or if you're actually running campaigns, the platform itself runs campaigns. So for instance, in this case where we work with eBay, but it could be the same for Obi, Douglas, or whoever. Is it still retail media? Because you can't really control it. And it's the same with other marketplaces. And it's super important for me. It's not only retail media if we're talking about physical products, but also when you go in what we, for instance, do for Spotify, is actually pushing your music. And the last 2 examples are a little bit more like crazier, but is it still retail media if you do something for Alexa? Is it if you do advertisement on Alexa using the data from Amazon? Is it a skill? Is it still retail media? Or if you're actually doing something on Twitch, which is still the data you're leveraging, but also different publisher, also owned by Amazon, when you do an influencer campaign here. And I think the last part is actually where we have the split to all the other masterclasses is when this goes to social media and social commerce. So today we will talk about all these different areas, and with that I will open up the stage to what you can do with it, what you can learn, and also where are the challenges and opportunities, and I will hand over to Nesma.
Thank you, Niels. All right. So I am going to talk about the unleashing power of retail media. Thank you. It's going to be a roughly 20-minute talk before my colleague Kevin will dive deeper into a specific case. So I'll give you an intro, I'll guide you through the main benefits and opportunities of retail media, and I'll also show you some challenges. And then we will have a future outlook of what there still is for retail media in the future. So as you all know, retail media networks are digital platforms operated by retailers. So it basically describes the retailer's ability to sell their own digital property to advertisers and brands. So why is it such a huge topic and why are we talking about it? As you can read, retail media is expected to be a $61 billion business by next year, which would already be double the 2021 numbers. I even brought some more statistics to show you that this is not just a hype, but really a data-based trend. Okay, so on the first graph, you see the development of the marketplaces sales. And you can definitely tell that marketplaces grow faster than traditional online shops. So there's definitely a shift to be seen from the start of product searches from Google to other marketplaces and Amazon. In the second graph, you see the revolution of retail media ad spend. You see that it's heavily increasing. Right now, actually, Amazon has a roughly 77% share of overall retail media spends, which shows you how big Amazon is in that conversation. And in the third graph, you see the ad revenue growth by company or companies, and you again see Amazon with estimated more than 15% share of the total digital marketing. With that being said, right now, Amazon Ads is among the top 5 advertising platforms after Google, Meta, and Microsoft. And actually, Amazon is already generating 5% of their total revenue, which, by the way, is more than $20 billion, through Amazon Ads. And so obviously, Amazon is setting a leading example as to why marketplaces is a huge thing and becoming even bigger. And it also shows why other e-retailers and marketplaces should definitely step up, level up, and follow the example of Amazon. Right now, in reality, this is still not quite the case. A lot of e-retailers and e-marketplaces, they're still on the level of Amazon 2010, let's say. Okay, maybe not so drastic, but still, you get the point. So now that you know why retail media is so important right now and why is it becoming such a huge thing, I will now guide you through the main opportunities of retail media. It's actually going to be 4 main benefits, I would say, for advertisers, but also e-retailers. So starting with the first point, increasing sales through lower funnel. Retail media campaigns operate deep down in the funnel, near the point of sales. So there's a small distance only between ad interaction and purchase. And unlike other media properties, customers who are browsing on retailers' websites or apps, they're already in a shopping mindset. People who open Amazon, they open it with the intention to already buy something. So in the real world, you can compare it with like in-store signage, cutout displays, or shelves near the checkout counter. And so the small time lag between ad interaction and purchase helps to get a better connection of your ad spend and ad sales, which helps you to analyze your return of investment even better and to form a more strategic and effective marketing. Retail media also enables brands to reach a wider audience, increase their brand awareness, and just drive more consideration to their products. Of course, we have to talk about data. So one of the huge benefits is really the access to rich consumer data that you'll get through retail media. So through those first-hand insights, it helps brands to actually form a deeper connection to the customers and just understand their purchase behaviors so that they can refine their advertising approaches. It helps to understand the purchase patterns of customers, which brands can use to actually optimize their assets, their headlines, their messages. So to give you one example, let's say I'm a manufacturer for washing machines, and through retail media data, I find out that most of the traffic I get through keywords related to energy efficiency. And so for me as a brand, it tells me that it's definitely something I should include into my brand messages and my ad messages so that consumers can find me better. With that being said, talking about consumers, so retail media campaigns, they actually feel more relevant to consumers. Again, as I said, they are browsing through e-tailers' websites, they see sponsored ads throughout their search journey, and the ads that they see, they actually fit into their shopping journey, and it feels relevant to them, unlike ads they see on other media properties. It also helps them to discover new products, new product types, new brands, be inspired by new things that they didn't know were there before. Like mentioning my example earlier from the washing machines. So maybe people who are really interested in energy efficiency, they didn't know that my brand is actually creating a product or selling a product that actually fits their need. So it helps them to discover new brands and also helps brands to stay in the mind of the consumers. And it just helps them to get more information in their shopping journey, to give them more recommendations so that consumers actually can form a more information-based purchase decision. But there's also some opportunities for retailers and not only for advertisers. So first of all, through the real-time insights that retailers can get through retail media, it helps them again to get to know more about their consumer preferences. They can optimize the structure of their websites even better, optimize their products. And so it gives them more insights to actually extend their business to the needs of the consumers. And yeah, it's just a new nice revenue source for retailers that promises steep growth rates with contribution margins as high as 80% in some cases. And for retailers, I think it's also just a cool way to collaborate with suppliers and with brands. So these were some of the main benefits, but of course not all that glitters is gold, and there are some challenges that might occur with retail media. I'm going to guide you through some of them. So I created like 4 main buckets. The first bucket I called it data measurability. So one huge challenge is then the retail media networks. There's still not a lot of APIs, which makes it harder to monitor the campaigns, manage the campaigns, get an overview of the campaigns. In a lot of cases, it still works with direct booking. You don't get instant feedback, and so it's still kind of challenging working with limited APIs. And if you have a lot of retail media campaigns going on in different channels, you do have a variety of KPIs, especially in the retail section. So this can be a challenge, just making sure that you're able to combine all these KPIs, because sometimes these KPIs are even calculated differently. So this might be a challenge. Then there's the question of data ownership. So who does the data belong to? Does it belong to the advertiser or to the platform? I think in the case of Amazon, a lot of brands already know what a struggle it can be to actually get reliable and accurate data for your brand. So this is one challenge. And just attributing the impact of your retail media campaigns to the actual outcome and proving its value without having proper measurement techniques or attribution techniques might also be challenging. And then we have the topic of targeting and personalization. Of course, you want to make sure you're reaching the right audience with the right message. You need to identify your right target group and create content that is really personalized and relevant for your target audience. The next bucket, I called it resources. So you have a lot of campaigns going on in the retail media network. You have a lot of campaign types and therefore a lot of ad formats. So you need a lot of different like ad assets, formats, media, and just onboarding and managing several retail media platforms at once can be a huge challenge, and also onboarding your employees and training them and developing knowledge, especially if you have limited resources. This might be a challenge. There's actually a survey where 45% of advertisers say their biggest challenge with retail media network is the number of retail media networks they need to manage. And just, overall, you get a vast amount of data from multiple sources that you need to collect, to utilize, to analyze in order to optimize your campaigns. And you also have the whole topic of data privacy and consumer protection. And so there's a lot of going on where you really need a robust data management strategy. And this can be also a challenge if you do have limited resources, but I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, more detailed. Then the next bucket, I called it management. So balancing the budget and distributing it across several platforms can be a challenge, like budget allocation, resource allocation, managing costs efficiently. You need to know what is the outcome of my platforms. How can I measure profitability? When should I know if to put more media spend on these platforms or less? So this is definitely something you need to question. And again, if you do have a lot of campaigns going on in the retail media network, you also want to make sure that they're not double counting, that the KPIs of your campaigns, especially if you combine them, that you're not double counting them. You also want to make sure that your campaigns do not cannibalize each other. And you also want to make sure that you're not reaching the same audience over and over and over again. So just defining a cross-platform strategy where all your campaigns and all platforms go kind of hand in hand with each other. And ideally, you would develop a full funnel strategy. This can be a time-consuming process, let's say. And then I have the bucket stakeholders, which is also a little difficult bucket. So one of the major challenges is to balance the profitability and the marketing budget. And this can be a huge challenge because I think in the case, again, of Amazon, a lot of people, or a lot of brands already know the struggle. If the actual sales do not kind of hit the forecasted sales, media spend has to be reduced, which at the end of the day increases the gap between forecasted sales and actual sales. So this is always a balancing act, especially internally within suppliers, that they need to figure out. There's also actually a survey where 55% of advertisers said their inability to quantify the return of investment for their leadership is one of the top threats for their retail media spending. So you need to make sure that your retail media campaigns align with broader business goals. You need to have a close collaboration with sales and marketing, and just make sure it goes hand in hand with your business objectives. Then there's the question, is it whose ownership is it? Is it sales ownership? Is it marketing ownership? Because obviously there's an overlap of responsibilities on retail media. And just the whole topic of compliance and privacy, because you need to make sure that your retail media campaigns comply with relevant laws, regulations, industry guidelines. So this can be a challenge to keep up with all of that, and just delivering relevant and personalized content to your consumers, but still ensuring like data privacy and consumer protection can be a challenging act. So overall, the retail media landscape is an ever-evolving landscape. You need to make sure you're keeping up with all the trends, with all the new features, the new ad types, the new technologies, new consumer behaviors. So you need to make sure that you keep up with all of that and stay ahead. And there's also a lot of competition going on. So retail media networks are an increasingly competitive market. You need to make sure you are differentiating yourself against the competitors, that you stand out. You need unique strategies for that, a unique approach. And also, make sure that you are avoiding campaign saturation. And to do all of that, you need the right people. You need specialized people, especially in the field of digital marketing, content creation, data analysis, campaign management, and so acquiring these talents and retaining these talents, especially in a very competitive job market, can be a huge challenge. So that was about it for the challenges. Let's see what still there is in the future for retail media. So I gathered some trends. One of them is creating your own app. You may have seen it. A lot of retailers are already working on creating their own app, which has a lot of benefits, it basically helps to combine offline and online market, which is great. You'll get more data by doing so, and also by using features like payback or couponing. It really helps to get a kind of full over strategy offline and online, get more consumer data, and you will even increase the customer loyalty by that. So this is definitely a trend that can be seen across a lot of retailers, that they are working on an own brand, and it makes sense. And of course, because Amazon is such a huge topic in the retail media conversation, I need to mention it, the Amazon Marketing Cloud. If you're doing Amazon advertising, then this is definitely a conversation you need to have. It helps you to get more insights. It helps you to get transparent about your full funnel strategy. It helps you to discover blind spots in your strategy and to discover opportunities that you didn't have in mind before. And you can even combine it with third-party data to get a full overview of your digital activities. This also kind of builds the bridge to programmatic solutions. So this is also definitely a trend, not only for retailers to expand their business, but also for advertisers to make use of that. So yeah, as I said, it's a nice business extension for retailers, and you see that a lot of retailers are already working on it. But as I said in the beginning, a lot of retailers are still stuck on like Amazon level of 2015, because it's still not really, the solutions are still not really advanced, but it's definitely a trend you can see. And also for the advertisers, it makes sense because they can work more in the upper funnel. I think in the collaboration with Pinterest and Amazon, you could see that the trend is also going towards more upper funnel, even for retail media networks. And yeah, I think it's, again, Amazon sets the example and shows why other retailers should step up. And yeah, brands should definitely also have the conversation about expanding on programmatic solutions. Lastly, to sum it all up with data, of course. So yeah, you won't come around global dashboards if you work with a lot of channels, because you want to combine all your data. You want to make sure that you're monitoring all your data properly and have a full overview of your digital marketing activities. So you should definitely be working on global dashboards. Yeah, this should be on the top of your priority list. To sum it all up, so I think it was never so easy to get that vast amount of data. And so a lot of data can have benefits and challenges. Again, it's a nice revenue source. With the rich data that you get, you can really optimize your campaign efficiency and your marketing activities. But with a lot of data, there's also a lot of challenges. You need to make sure you're able to actually track and measure and monitor your actions. And you need the resources to do all of that. However, I think the combination of offline and online will be a huge trend in the future, as well as I mentioned it, programmatic solutions and just finding smart solutions to actually process all your data. So this will be a huge topic. And yeah, I'm pretty sure retail media is becoming the next huge thing. I'm very much looking forward of what there still is for retail media in the future. And with that being said, I thank you for your attention, and I hand back to Niels.
Thank you, Nesma. So this was a quick introduction into the topic, and now we spice it up a little bit, get more into practice and how this whole topic actually fits into your strategy and how you can integrate that in your strategy. And we do that on the case of Medela. And for that, I hand over to Kevin and Karen.
Thanks so much. Can everyone hear me fine? Great, thanks. So, with all the insights and trends Nesma just talked about, we're ready to dive into Medela. But you might be wondering, what's that rather large-looking guy going to talk about? And what does he know about Medela? And in general, what does he know about breast pumps? Well, 2.5 years ago, I didn't know a whole lot about Medela. Actually, I never heard of the company. I was a very happy person and living my life expecting a son. My wife was about 28 weeks pregnant when you get a call that's not ideal. I got a call, hey, honey, can you come to the hospital? Because even though COVID rules applied and visitors weren't welcome, I was supposed to go to the hospital. It's a bit of a weird call to get, so you hurry to the hospital. And long story short, my wife was having a very high blood pressure, and if that would keep up, we would be parents that day at 28 weeks pregnant. Long and strong fight of my wife later, we managed to stall it for 2 weeks, and at 30 weeks, my son was born, and I became a dad. Not being prepared because I didn't go to all the courses that you're supposed to go to as a new dad with your pregnant wife. And you are, well, bombed into the world of the hospital and the medical world. And you can't do a lot except for hug your son and, well, support him while he's in the NICU, the intensive care for babies, well, starting his life there. But there was one thing you could do. And actually, it was something that my wife did. She pumped 6 times a day to bring that liquid gold, the mother milk, the breast milk, to my son. And it was done on a yellow pump called the Medela Symphony, and that's how I learned about Medela as a company. I didn't know and I didn't foresee back then that not even a year later, I would be working together with Karen on building the strategy for Medela and bringing Medela to more moms around the globe. I didn't know back then that Medela was founded in 1961. I didn't know back then that they're specialized in care and that they're not just in hospitals, but all over the place. But I'll get back to that. So, 2.5 years ago, that's how I learned about Medela. And now I know that Medela is there to support moms and giving them the best and innovative products to support their mother and baby journey. Everything's fine now with my son. He's a very happy 2.5-year-old who is very good at saying no. So that all turned out well. And now I'm here on stage to talk to you about the strategy that we built together. So the challenge that Medela has, and that's a very interesting challenge, is that there's about 4 million babies a year being born in Europe. Just like my son, but most of them are a little bit later than 30 weeks. And with those 4 million moms, how do you reach all of them? How do you tell 4 million moms in Europe each year about all the products that Medela has? Well, the best person to tell you that is Karen, as the head of digital and e-commerce in Europe for Medela.
Thank you very much for sharing your story. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story because, again, what is very important, what is the reason why Medela is such a strong brand is we come into play in the life of the mother when they are the most vulnerable, when they are giving birth, and hopefully not always in your situation. Sometimes things happen for the best, but they need our pump, and this is what Medela is advocating. We want to empower moms to we provide innovative, science-based product and services to make sure that we can support them in their breastfeeding journey. And we are renowned for our excellence in our research, and we want to advance the need for breast pump technology. So up to now, in the past months, into the digital marketing strategy on a European level was really to focus on the product features of our pump, of our product, and we were really focusing on all the product launches. Maybe here I just want to say, when we talk about the just for those who are not familiar with our products and the need for our products, here we talk about the breast pumps, which you mentioned, but also maternity clothes, maternity wear, and also breast care creams to help mothers during the breastfeeding issues that they will encounter. So what's the status quo here? We are the brand that is supported by healthcare professionals in hospitals, but also by midwives and nurses. We are the market leader in the sector, and we are the strongest brand in most of the markets. I would not say all of them, but in most of them. We have a very strong heritage and a very strong presence in physical stores. Obviously, if you've never been a mom or you haven't embarked in the mother journey, you maybe haven't noticed, but you can see our product in pharmacies, baby shops, and also mass retailers sometimes in some markets. We don't really have on a European level a direct-to-consumer channel, except in the UK, and very recently we launched one in Spain. And yes, we have 14 million moms that we need to help and support in their journey across the world. So basically, as I touched base a little bit earlier, the marketing approach so far, I would say until 8 months ago, was really focusing on product launches, raising visibility. So we were really focusing on the upper funnel, on the really raising awareness of the product within our target audience. Very little was done on the lower funnel to really push consideration and purchase. So it looks pretty much a bit like this. So you might wonder what are the challenges. I mean, a few have been raised already by you. I think Nesma also, I was listening carefully to the challenges you were raising, and obviously a lot of them resonated in my day-to-day life. But I would like to emphasize two who were actually the guiding principles in the back when we set up our marketing strategy together. One, and we mentioned it, but it's important to emphasize, we have a rotation. Audience is rotating constantly. And so they come they connect to our product in a very, very short period of time. So usually is whenever the baby is born. It's very rare that they know the product before the baby is born, because during the pregnancy, they don't really come across. Some do, or some recognize the yellow pump from a friend or a cousin which was yellow in the hospital or at home. There's a very strong brand recognition for Medela. But they're with us for only 3 months. And sometime when we push it, they breastfeed for 6 months, but usually the decision is gone. So that's the first challenge we have to face. And second, though we've been market leader for many years and we've been alone on the market for a long time, today we're not alone. There's a lot of competition on the market, and they come at a much lower price point. Medela continues to position the brand as a premium brand, but the competition which are hitting the market constantly are really at a lower price point. So just the last thing I want to emphasize, when a few years ago, 4 years ago, we run all our digital marketing activities on a local level. So every country was running its own digital activities, and the amount of activities was really pending on the maturity of the market, pending on the resources and the capabilities of each market. 3 years ago, the European entity was created, the one I'm leading today, and we've been for the past year and a half really active on these 3 different work streams: digital marketing, meaning advertising on Google, social, and Meta, Facebook, as you know, marketplaces, including Amazon advertising, and we're also active with retail media. But you have to understand that these 3 entities, both internally in my team and together with our agency, were completely disconnected. So we were not really, we were all not working in unison. We were not aligning our strategy. There were no fluidity between the budget shift between the different entities. Everybody has his own budget and manage his own work stream. And we realized very quickly with Kevin and Deb that was not effective and efficient at all, and that we had to shuffle a little bit that. And that's why we decided to build, about 8 months ago, and this is what we want to present to you today, a one holistic channel approach. But I would like you, Kevin, to explain how we did that and why we did that.
Sure thing. The other one. Thanks so much. So, with this context, we need to build a strategy based on a model. And usually we do that by literally peeling off this model outside in and touching every part of this wheel. We're not going to do that for today because then we'll be here long after it's dinner time. But what is important is that all the right pieces of the puzzle need to be in place. So we need to have the right tech. We need to have the right insights. We need the right media mix to drive the KPIs that we want to drive. And that's what we'll be focusing today. So this is probably a model that almost all of you here are familiar with. See, think, do, care. It is about awareness, consideration, and purchase, but in different terms. How I always like to explain it is that the C phase of a journey is telling people that there's a problem that needs solving. Consideration, or think, is about informing about the solution. Do, or purchase, is selling the solution to that problem. And care is, hey, there's more problems that we have solutions to. With this in the back of your mind, there's a few facts and figures that are really important to take into context here. First of all, the 4 million moms a year that we want to reach. Second, and this is an interesting one, on average a consumer in Europe sees about 1,000 different brands, different ads a day. I'm not sure if you realize that, but you see 1,000 different brands flash by on all the different screens every day. And while we're here at OMR, it's probably quite a few more. The third one, and Nesma already touched on it, but competition is on the rise. If we specifically look at Medela and the different brands or the market segments that Medela is in, competition has almost tripled in a year in some markets by new companies entering the market space, often with an inferior product for a low price point to gain market share. And lastly, that's a very obvious one, but Medela's budgets are of course not unlimited, so we have to come up with a smart plan. So what we did, taking these all in consideration, is focus on the lower half of the think phase and the purchase phase. We said basically that if a mom shows any intent that she is in market, we'll make sure we grab her and we don't let go. Everything consensual, of course, but we want to make sure that a mom knows that we are the one-stop shop where she needs to go. And so we set out, based on everything Karen just said, that in the first part of our collaboration, we would focus on cleaning house, making sure that bottom part of the funnel is served in the right way, and we go away from just pushing upper funnel. For year 2 and 3, we said let's focus on the integration between what we're doing on marketplaces, which were already quite a mature channel managed by our Amazon team, and the collaboration on that part was already ongoing for quite a while, but also what's happening on digital marketing channels like Google and Meta. And our dot on the horizon is the full integration of everything that is digital. So retail media, on all platforms, but also with local partners like Boots, like Argos in the UK, for example, included in our total mix, managed by the European team. So what did we actually do? What we did is, well, pretty simple. We focused on maximizing sales, maximizing that lower part of the funnel. So we started looking at this picture, and quite soon we started to, erase the high bumps. But why did we actually do that? Well, Karen already touched upon it. There is a rotating audience that's there. So moms are in market for a very short time, and their demand in different parts of the pregnancy are completely different. Actually, moms have a dozen or so customer journeys that they go through during their pregnancy for different kinds of products. So as an example, pretty early on in your pregnancy, you're probably looking for comfortable maternity wear. Well, later on, you start looking for a pump, and there's a very short window we can grasp. But we know that that behavior is there. So that's something that we can take advantage of. So, as I said, we started in erasing those high peaks and started filling the lower part of the funnel. Grab that intent, and regardless of where the mom is active, make sure that we're visible there. Now we're in or in the second year of this plan. We can accelerate a little bit. As Karen said, about eight months ago we started, but we rounded up to whole years. So what we did, we started focusing on bringing that alignment between different channels. And we've been building and scaling out everything that's happening in lower funnel. And one of the cool things is that we're doing right now is actually use fluid budgets. In other words, a fluid budget is that looking at the performance of the different channels in a transparent way, where does the money, well, yield the most performance? So both efficient and effective. And we strive to still be visible when a mom needs to be aware. So it's not just about being there when the mom is searching, but we also want to support those product launches. But the way we do that is not by just screaming really loud. And I brought an example. So we're testing what works best. And there's no one size fits all, right? So this is an example of a campaign we actually did earlier in the year. Medela launched their new Rolls-Royce of breast pumps, or to not upset Audi as a sponsor, the Audi A8 of breast pumps, if you will, which is a portable, wearable, in-bra, rechargeable breast pump. Really comfortable in use, and it gives a lot of freedom back to a mom who's also doing other stuff, others than being a mom. So this is a product that really deserved additional attention. Other than just pull marketing, we wanted to push a little. So what did we do? We actually set up, together with the brand teams at Medela, an influencer campaign with a mix of micro and macro influencers all across Europe to promote a new product, explain it, and all of those influencers were actually pregnant or just become moms. We didn't necessarily then push all that traffic directly to a point of sale. We wanted to support it, right? In that consideration stage, the think phase of the funnel, we wanted to make sure that we explain to moms why they need it and why this is a solution for the challenges they face. So we created content and landing pages, both on and off the Medela website, to support that. And lastly, because Medela doesn't have a DTC presence across Europe, we actually used Amazon as a point of sale in this journey. And that way, we're currently, or constantly actually, testing what works best and what touch points can we introduce to a mom to support her on the journey. But there was a bit of a challenge, and as Karen also stated, the teams were all separated when we started all of this. And one thing we actually decided on, and it was a bit of a puzzle, is to build a core team, a blended core team of Karen's team with specialists within Medela across Europe, but also specialists from our side to support on advertising, on strategy, and on top of that, we make sure that we find the right experts to accelerate what we're doing, so we're both more efficient and more effective at what we do. And this is kind of working out quite well. But you're probably wondering, hey, this all sounds great in practice, but how well is doing well? Well, I think that's best for you to share.
I'm happy to share the good results. Can you just change the slide? Yeah, thank you. So first, which is the most important thing for all of us active in digital marketing, we want to reduce our cost, and we managed to reduce the advertising cost by more than 20%. So that was really the first great news, that the strategy was working. The second one is that we have more than 50% more consumers who are redirected to a point of sale, which obviously was the core of our strategy, to direct as many moms as possible directly to a point of sale and to push the purchase. For the shop, for the D2C shop that we have in the UK, we doubled the revenue year on year. Another great result. And finally, for every euro that we invested in retail media, there's more than 14, right, or 15 in return in revenue. So those different indicators are really proving that the different touch points different digital touch points are efficiently run. But something that I'm very proud of, and I think we can be proud of what we've built together, is the way my team and DEPT's team is working together. And this is the complicated visualization that you have on the right-hand side, where you see how, in yellow, how the people in our European digital team are interacting with the different experts and head of work streams within DEPT. And then we have me and Kevin at the middle with other strategists taking care of and making sure that the ways of working around the relationship is playing off. So this is the first learnings. It was very important to streamline communications, to have a good structure, collaborative structure in place for both Deb's team and Medela's team. Obviously, we also had to change our approach to product launches because we had to make sure we had enough fund and budget to not cover only the launches, but also to stay always on. And we had to, that was a fight, but we have to make sure that we have fluid shift and agile ways of shifting budget between sales and marketing team. And I'm sure this would resonate with a lot of people in the room. This is even something I hear in the few master classes that I've been to. And so finally, in terms of reporting and metrics, we had to normalize the different cost per order, per channel. These for Amazon, the different marketplaces, the D2C shop in the UK, and we'll do it now for Spain. You need to adapt this chart. And the click out to the website and with the different retail partners that we have. Did I say everything?
I think you covered everything.
I keep on knocking on.
So, with that, I think the strategy and the tactics that we used are pretty clear. But I can also imagine that an example would tie everything together. So everything we just shared, but also all the trends that Nesma talked about previously need to come together. And we have a pretty cool case, because on bol.com, which is for the people that are not familiar with it, the small Amazon of the Netherlands, we also have a retail relationship with them for Medela, and we're selling the Medela products there. And the challenge here is, how do you explore everything that we've just touched on in a good way? So, we had the example earlier where moms become a part of a customer journey every so often in their pregnancy and afterwards, and they start searching, and as you can see here, they go through a customer journey as they would. So in this case, at the beginning, the maternity wear example that I had, but we can kind of predict by the behavior and searches moms do on platforms like this, where they are in their pregnancy. And on an individual basis, no worries, we're not sending out "congratulations, you're pregnant" cards to moms, but we can determine which bucket or which phase of your pregnancy you're in. And imagine us doing mapping between what you're searching for and what products for Medela make sense. So when a mom is searching for a gender reveal, for example, gender reveal products, we know roughly where she is. But the same goes if someone is looking for a pregnancy diary or very specific products that we can all map in terms of signals. So all those searches are mapped in the end to very specific buckets that we can remarket. What we have done, just to be sure, is exclude the first trimester, because there's a lot of privacy considerations, and we just didn't want to burn our fingers there. We just said, we'll exclude all of those signals just to be sure, and we'll start from signals in the second trimester. And every signal we got, we map to. Either it's a direct product search, so we can just do normal sponsored ads that you're familiar with. Either it's a search that we can derive from what kind of product would be very interesting. We treated that as basically remarketing that you would usually do. And lastly, based on searches that moms did, that gave a signal, hey, I am roughly there in my pregnancy, we mapped to prospecting campaigns. And that mix was perfect in our, see, think, do, care model in the end, because we could show the right product to the right person with the right promotion at the right time. And that way we covered 4 out of the 5 marketing Ps that you all know, leaving the last one, price, up to Medela to make sure that it was the right price for consumers. And what this actually did is we managed, on this specific example, to cut costs quite significantly by 28% of our media spend. We did that by employing the normal tactics we do, and this was on top of that. But the cool thing is that we grew sales together by over 200% by delivering the right message at the right time and using, all the power retail media has to offer. So, in summary, everything you've heard us share with you today is about building that unique mix that you can with a good digital marketing strategy, implementing the right tactics within retail media, and making sure that you don't stick to silos, but break them down as soon as you can. You have to have transparency in your data, and besides having a global dashboard bringing all that data together, it should also be a dashboard containing the data of your different channels in a way that they make sense, so you can actually compare them and you're not comparing apples to pears, but apples to apples. And lastly, you need a good team and a team structure to actually support this, as Karen already shared. And bringing all those ingredients together leads to, well, really cool results, and we're really curious to see what, well, year 3 and year 4 onwards will bring. But we can also imagine that you have a ton of questions about the next steps we're going to be taking. So instead of us presenting, we thought it would be a great opportunity to give it back to the panel. So you all have a chance to ask all the questions you want, and we're ready to spill the beans. Thank you.
Thank you. So, on stage, please, Pauline from BSH with a very German name, Bosch Siemens Hausgeräte. Let's move a bit. Yeah. Katrin will join us as well. Yeah, maybe as an opener, because we heard a lot about Medela. So I will ask you, Pauline, maybe as opener, where are you right now active and which marketplaces? Probably not only Amazon. So can you say a few words about that?
Sure. Thank you, Niels, for the small introduction. I will start maybe a bit more general for those of you who are not familiar with home appliances business. So I am part of BSH, so Bosch, Siemens Home Appliances. We have also other brands, but this kind of companies, home appliances, are usually split into 2 different business units. So you have the MDA, so the major domestic appliances, which are everything related to fridges or dishwashers, for instance. And then you have the small domestic appliances business units, which is, for instance, vacuum cleaners, toaster, kitchen appliances. And this is this category where I am currently positioned within BSH. So everything you will hear from me today is based on small domestic appliances experiences at BSH. And yeah, we're active actually in all parts of the world. Obviously, Europe being one of our major regions, since Bosch and Siemens especially are German brands. But we have also some activities in emerging markets, thinking of Turkey, for instance. But even in Australia, you're able to find BSH products. So we're active in some parts of the world. And when it comes to retail media, it's actually a topic that we are working on quite a lot right now in Europe, thinking obviously at Amazon, as it is the most international one we have in Europe, but also bol.com, as mentioned by Kevin, is also relevant for us. Currys in the UK, Cdiscount in France, to mention the biggest one we are also working with. But yeah, we have activities all around Europe, all across Europe for retail media.
Cool, thanks for the introduction. And hearing the challenges and the case of Medela, sounds that a little bit familiar, or what is right now going on at BSH?
Yeah, it felt kind of familiar indeed when Karen also talked about increase of competition, or when Nesma talked about complex organization, very difficult to have all stakeholders in one round. That it felt very familiar, so I feel like doesn't make any difference if you're selling breast pumps or home appliances. When it comes to e-retail and retail media, it seems like organization face internationally the same kind of challenges. I would say yes.
And maybe then to Katrin, in the day-to-day, because we also invited some other agencies here as well and know the problems. What are the problems from the kind of from the brand perspective in the day-to-day, or challenges you're facing right now?
Yeah, so I would say
we touched on some things like breaking the silos between the different areas of marketing. That's definitely a challenge, but we must not forget that there are even more silos within a company. So for example, for me, doing successful campaigns on Amazon, it's not only that I need to know what's going on in D2C shop, what's going on social media, it's also I need to talk to sales, I need to know when promotions do start. As we know, Amazon sometimes a bit like spontaneous, that a new opportunity comes up and you need to act quite fast. Then there also, we know it all, the supply situation in the world is currently also not the easiest. Unfortunately, it's the same for us at the moment. For some products, so there are a lot of things where you need to be up to date. So breaking those silos also between the different departments is definitely one of the big challenges.
So in this breaking the silos, I'm always an advocate to do that with data, because then nobody can argue against it. How do you do that right now?
That's a good question. So we're not fully there yet, but we started doing our own BI dashboards globally for Amazon to bring all the data together, to also compare different regions. So what we're doing in Europe versus what our colleagues in the US are doing, but also what our international colleagues in Japan are doing, for example, and to create more learnings there. But one of the next steps will definitely be to bring also the different e-retailer data together, to also compare more of different channels, to create more learnings also on that side.
Thank you. Maybe giving it back to Pauline. Yeah, I know that you're fully into measurement, but do you also use that data, or how do you go into new retailers? So when do you decide what is the next retail media plan, what you should approach, and which one is worth doing?
Well, that's a super complex topic, because as I mentioned earlier, we are a big organization with a lot of different categories and a lot of different countries. And obviously Amazon is the most international of all of them, but when it comes to local players, so I am part of the global team, and obviously I'm not aware on each and every e-retailer in one specific country. So to be honest, we rely very much on the expertise of the local teams. So we're not taking a lone decision in the global team on what should be invested in each and every country. When it comes to retail media, actually, we let the countries decide what they should invest on which platform. So it's their ownership, the topic of retail media. And in terms of global support, obviously we try to stay in trend and keep the pace with what is going on, which platforms are relevant for us for each and every category, which, as I said, is not very easy, because we have in our portfolio product like hand mixer, which is low price products, urgent replacement, and maybe there is a channel which is more adapted than an automated coffee machine, which is more into the upgrading the everyday life. And there you have also some maybe different channels that are more adapted to reach out to customers. So yeah, it's always a mix between what do we see, what are our priorities in terms of business, and also what the locals also have as a strategy, and where they want to put their bills on retail media.
I think that's an interesting statement, to keep that local. We are often asked how to do it, how to do the setup, see the evolvement of like local, then to global, then too much to global, then back a little bit to local, and this parts here. Maybe to Karen, how do you keep the team up to date? How do you kind of train them in especially these topics around marketplace and retail media?
The question is, how do I keep them trained? I mean, I think we are in an industry, we have to keep ourselves educated and maintained. This is why we are all here. My entire team is actually at the OMR. Just this is another platform that they need to participate and attend, but there's also ongoing e-learning platforms that they all have to onboard. Even for Amazon advertising, every year I think you have to renew your certification. So it's in the field of digital marketing, the continuing education is really like constant. But I just want to jump back again for what you said, and it's we need local partners. I just want to emphasize that because we talk Europe, we talk sales team, we talk marketing, we talk breaking the silos. But at the end, the source of information, we need to make sure that the decision we take on a regional level are impactful and make sense on a local market. Otherwise, there's no raison d'être for whatever we're doing. And we have extremely close collaboration with the sales and marketing team in each and every one of the subsidiaries. This is key for our success. The markets are enabling our success. Without them, we are not successful.
Maybe then also the next question to you. Where do you see the whole retail media topic going? So for you, and what needs to be solved to make that a little bit more efficient maybe?
What needs to be solved? I think the key challenge I think we see and I hear here at the OMR as well is really this close collaboration with all the different stakeholders that we have within an organization. Mainly sales and marketing, but not only, because we have to involve supply chain, and if we want to be successful in e-commerce channels, we have to have a supply chain that is working and functioning. So all the different entities, both with global, both with the different regions, all this alignment that we need between the different regions, together with the local markets. There's so much effort and stakeholder in managing all these stakeholders, and this is the base for success. And then when we want to identify where do we go, where do we invest, then we tap into the local markets because that's what they know.
Okay. Then it's maybe also the time to open up for some questions if you have. Somebody is eager for having a more specific question in that direction, yeah.
Hi, I saw in the presentation that the result that you have reduced 20%, minus 20%, the investment of advertising, right? Yeah. Can you maybe tell us, how, or give some examples?
Yeah, you'll have to repeat the question. I hear nothing.
You can understand it as well.
She asked for me because it was for me. You were looking at me. Okay,
so she asked the results you showed, like they were 20% better. How did you get there, and how did you measure that?
You want to jump in, Kevin?
Sure. So I heard your question because I was wearing the headset. No, so the 20% cost reduction is in terms of the money we need to spend per sale, per click out to a point of sale, compared to the test period we were working. So we gained 20% efficiency, if you will, in running our campaigns because they were better optimized and closer to the point where we wanted to have them. And on the other side, and that's the cool thing, the effectiveness of the campaigns also increased, and those are the revenue numbers that you've seen in the different examples. Does that answer your question?
I mean, I think there's also one key element you said. We are targeting the mothers who already indicated an interest in the brand, right? So we're not targeting wide with people who are like very low, like at the beginning of their pregnancy. Like we're really narrowing the targeting that we have. So obviously the resonance is also stronger and we're more efficient and effective in that regard. If I can add on to.
Sure. So are there any more questions? I know it's late. But that's your chance, yeah? I will come over and then I will tell them the question again.
So yeah, this is a question, I think Kevin's his name, right? Yeah. So I love the approach with actually defining something like target CPOs per outlet, I guess. And you can easily do that on Amazon, of course, and probably on all the marketplaces as well, where you get the data. But in our understanding, with like the second biggest marketplace in Germany, with Otto, the retail side of things, it's very, very hard to get the data and actually define something like a target CPO. And if that is the case on the second biggest retailer, online retailer in Germany, then I imagine on other non-marketplaces, this might be a challenge as well. So how do you tackle that?
Thank you.
So it was a question to me, and I'll try to I'll try to repeat part of it. So the question is related to how do we actually end up calculating a CPO for other channels that don't provide the same amount of data, with the specific example of Otto as the second marketplace here in Germany. What we have tried to do is define a way to level the playing field in how we define what a CPO is, right? So there's different parts in the journey that you can define as an action. And for example, traffic that we're sending out from the Medela website to a point of sale has a certain cost per action. And then that same cost per action towards an order can be measured on the marketplace. So what we've done is we taken all the data that we have, because you're absolutely right, not all marketplaces and e-tailers provide you that data. But what we've done is we try to create a benchmark based on the data that we do have for all the specific marketplaces that do share that data, and then transpose that basically on the marketplaces and e-tailers that do not. And we compare that data to what's actually sell in and sell out, depending on what numbers you have per marketplace versus the investment you do. So it is, for some marketplaces, a calculation, but for most marketplaces and e-tailers, we actually know the numbers. Does that answer your question? Cool, thanks.
He looks happy. Any more happy faces? Yes.
Hi. Yeah, this question goes more to Karen. Can you hear me?
I'm running to you. There you go.
Okay, that's easier. Hi. So I really liked when you touched upon fluid budgets, or yeah, how you actually manage to allocate marketing or media spendings between e-com and marketing in an agile way. So
A lot of phone calls. A lot of phone calls.
Yeah, can we talk next week? No, but on a serious note, how are you doing that? I mean, that's more of a transformative or yeah, organizational question, I imagine.
No, I mean, I have, because otherwise I hear my voice. I have to say it came in steps. I think the company is mature enough, and I have very good leaders, very good team members, board members who understand. But I have to go back to what Neil said. First, I start with the data. I just show them the return on investment, and I show them where we are able to be efficient and effective. And also they understand, they know better, like the budget that I have available, both marketing and salespeople. And again, it's bringing all this information to the table. And sometimes I bring the agency. I had some crisis meeting up to last Friday, where I talked to all the country heads, because sometimes there are budget cuts, sometimes there are budget adjustments. It's a lot of calls. I mean, thank God there is Teams, because otherwise I would have to fly a lot. But it's a lot of conversation, starting with data again, and making sure they understand that we are one team at the end. We want one goals, and it takes a little bit of time for them, because everybody has his own goals and bonuses at the end, right? But at the end, if we are one organization, and it sounds silly, but we are one Medela, and we are very proud of saying we are one Medela globally. At some point, I use that card and I say, guys, we are one Medela. We are all fighting for the same results. So we're going to take the money where there is, and we all have the same. So, but it takes times and a lot of conversations. I don't know if I honestly, it's the honest answer.
So no silver bullet. I think it's for every topic we have here at OMR. I think that's often it's not the product itself or the solution itself which needs to change, but the organization. But with retail media, it's so often that you have to connect and break those silos, because you have the salespeople. Often it's sales budget. It's on the P&L of the marketplace or the web shop. And if you keep it like in that sales bubble, it's never going to grow. And we see more and more brands actually taking out the budget. And now it has a fancy name called retail media. So the marketing people will say, hey, that's now my budget. And then the salespeople are happy, because now the client is more profitable. So there's a lot of change right now happening. And I think when we did the first talk like this 10 years ago about Amazon media, we had the same. There was all these salespeople in that room. And that's changed now. And I think that's one of the most important parts which is changing. If you do it global or locally, is actually to get the the retail media or the media part into the marketing team and understand that it's not only lower funnel anymore, but it's actually helping you to build a brand, to reach the right customers with micro moments like we saw today. And getting in those spaces, what I showed at the beginning, we're really going into branding. And now they give you that opportunity as well. Even if it's a direct booking, and you can't measure it directly. But the marketing people are used to that. They have a panel then for their TV rates. So it's often the sales people who want to measure it to the last point. But if you know by the setup that you're reaching the right audience, you will have the effect. And I think that's the change here.
And I maybe just want to add something. I was talking about the board, which is referring to senior management, but I also had to start within the team. Like, if I may say, like my team, everybody has his own budget. The digital marketing expert had her own budget, and for Amazon, she had a separate budget, and for the e-media, we had a different, and everybody was working in silos and managing the agency separate ways. So I had to start within our team, which was the easiest, obviously, because they are digital experts, so they totally understand right away like the impact of those decisions. But then you have to go layer by layer, and you have to go back and show KPIs and explain again that go back to the mission of the company. What is our goal? We all want to have a healthy P&L. We all want to we're one company. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's one more question.
Hi, my question also goes to you, Karen. Also adding to the same organizational thing, because we're going in the same direction, kind of. My question is, so when it comes to budgets and resources, did you take it out of the local entities that you had, or how did you exactly do that? Because I also think it's really, really hard to do that and globalize the whole thing. So what was your approach there?
So I'm not the owner of this approach. Just to state things clearly, until 3 years ago there was no European entity. So it was decided by the board to create a European entity, and so naturally the resources were centralized on a European level, and the local marketeers the local markets still have their own budget, of course, but whatever is digital would be managed Europeanly. So whatever kind of initiative we have digitally, even if it's a creation of assets or a translation of assets or a media budget, all of this is centralized on a European level. So me and my team, we have the control of the media plan and of the country media budget. We are responsible for the strategy and for the budget allocation. So there's no overlap of budget within the digital stream, if that answers your question. It's completely in all digital activities are totally in the hand of the European team. There's no overlap, to keep it clean.
Maybe also something to add there, what we most of the time see in terms of setup when you go from a local approach to a centralized approach, that first the global team will get an advisory role and some, I would say, money to play. So to do the new pilots, to train, to learn, to maybe do fancy new content tests. And with that, evolving and training gives them the ability, also the smaller markets, to evolve. And what we often see there is that if we get it then to a global budget, the smaller markets have the fear to lose. It's often the case because the biggest, where you get your money in the end out of it will be the big ones. And that's the tricky part where you have to kind of align that. And what we, on the other side is if you have like a global advisory role or like the best excellence center, often the local markets also lose the small markets because a team from Germany can easily take care of all the best practices, while maybe Spain with one person who does it all say like, yeah, nice, thank you for the playbook, but
we don't do that.
When should I do that? So it's it's in every organization a little bit different, where you have to figure out how to do that.
And I was joking, but I'm serious. We don't do that. We have the mandate and the mission and the vision to be digitally active for the 13 markets, for the 13 European markets. Obviously not to the same extent. It also depends on the revenue contribution that they have, right? It's relatively proportionate to that. But we have a European mandate, and I'm very proud to say that we support 13 markets.
Okay, I would say last question, and then it's time for beer.
Yeah, my question is also directed to Karen. Yeah, so you've touched upon the subject of influencer marketing, and I was wondering, because there's such a short period of time in which these influencers can collaborate with you till their children get too old, and you also like place your brand as a premium product, like what are certain key indicators that are very important for you for your decision on which sort of influencer you want to collaborate with? So is there something like really important in a way that they have to have maybe the same kind of resemblance as the brand, or do you know where I'm going with the question?
I don't know. I'll try to answer, and if it's not enough, I can go further. First, again, when it comes to influencer marketing, we start with the input of the local markets, because we believe, and we've seen it with our KPIs, that we are much more efficient with local influencers than with global ones, right? So the conversion rate is much higher than when we try to have global ambassadors. It's great, but it's not as efficient. So we start with the markets. Then when it comes to when we choose, we were more selective in the past. We were really looking for somebody so first we were never looking for influencers. They were coming to us because they need our product, they hear about our product, they love our product. So we were in a very nice place. We usually try to be open and inclusive, so we're not so selective. We're just trying to be sure that the brand it reflects the brand identity of our. But it's very rare that I said no. You're not. Every mom is different, so it would not be really appropriate for us to start excluding mothers. Every mother has its own journey. However, when it comes to resharing content of influencer, we follow languages overlap, right? So if somebody, if an influencer has exclusive German content, then I will share it on the Swiss channels, because we speak German in Switzerland. So that we try to obviously to respect, so that there is national resonance into the content that we're sharing. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool.
Okay, then it's time for me to say thank you again to all of you, and to all of you being here so late. You're invited to our little booth party. There will be drinks and a little food. We are located actually with a night hangout area in the Food and Network Hall, because last year I realized that here's so much buzz. And so we create a little bit of safe space, I would say, with some couches and where you can just sit and chill. You can also do that tomorrow. So if you go to our booth tonight, you will get a white wristband, and then you can chill that all day tomorrow and get some free drinks. So happy to have you there. If you're not a brand and not interested in what we are actually doing here, we are also hiring. So also drop by. Yeah, thank you again, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.